Welcome to Supplier Spot Spotlight, the podcast where we shine a light on the RV, park, and campground outdoor hospitality industry. Join us as we chat with suppliers, park owners, and staff, uncovering insights, strategies, and stories that will elevate your outdoor experience. Get ready for inspiration and innovation in every episode.
Hey there, everybody. Bobby Sorton here again with Supplier Spot Spotlight Podcast. Got another great person I'm talking to today. This is David Course. He's with the Glamping Show Americas. David, thank you for being on the show with me. I really do appreciate it.
Hey, it's my pleasure. It's fun to talk to you.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, I met you for the first time 2 years ago when I was working for another company and came out to the Glamping Show. I'm here in Colorado Springs, and I know the Glamping Show's up in Aurora, so it's like right in my backyard. So it's kind of cool to have a show right here in Colorado. So I know we talked a little bit last year too. We were at the show, and we've talked a few times in between then. So it's just always great to talk to you and get your feedback and stuff about everything that's going on in this industry. So again, thank you for being here with me.
My pleasure. I promise.
Okay, yeah. So one thing I want to know is, of course, you're the Glamping Show. I have you guys here on Supplier Spot, basically in the RV park and conference ground conferences, trade shows. So I was trying to say the RV park and campground conferences and trade shows. God, that's a mouthful. So yeah, so I have you guys in there, and I just want to talk a little bit about what your thoughts are about Supplier Spot and the concept that I came up with. I'm no longer working with that previous company I was, and I'm trying to get something going that I think is a much needed entity for this industry, and I just kind of want to get your thoughts on it.
I think there's plenty of room for it, certainly, Bobby. It's just what you're doing is similar to what we're doing. It's just that we're doing ours once a year, and you're online 24/7. In the same way that we think the event is a useful resource for people within this section of the outdoor hospitality industry, I think Supplier Spot can be a useful resource to people in the same marketplace who are looking for answers or suppliers or options or solutions during the rest of the year. So if they stay with you 363 days of the year, and they'll come visit us in Colorado for 2 days of the year, then life is perfect from my point of view.
Yeah, and that was my whole concept too. When I first got the idea about this, I was trying to think of the pros and cons. I talked to several people before I even launched it, and I believe you were even one of the ones I talked to before I launched it to get your thought about it. And my whole goal behind it was to have one location, not only just to promote suppliers or a place for them to advertise, but to actually develop it into like a marketplace where those suppliers who are specifically directed to the RV park and campground industry can actually have their own little marketplace store on the site. That way, if somebody came to the association or the glamping, not association, I always get those confused, the Glamping Show, and saw like I always look at like little trinkets, the campground stores where they sell all those items, and they're like, oh, well, where was that? They could always go to the Glamping Show, but if for some reason they couldn't remember where to go, they can just go to Supplier Spot, find it, and then be able to purchase right through there. But that's the great thing about it, is I've always tried to promote the associations and all these shows. Like I was just talking to, I want to say it was Vacavia. I don't know if you know Vacavia Cottages and Cabins. And I think it was them I was talking to, and we got on the subject about the Glamping Show. And I said, hey, it's a great show if you can get there. Oh, that's right. It was Vacavia, because I did a little intro email to you. I forgot about that. See, my mind, I've been working so much, and I can't remember who I'm talking to. I forgot that we did that intro email.
I'm the one who's supposed to be having senior moments, not you.
I know, right? I've just been so busy, crazy busy. But yeah, so that was my whole point behind it, is I want to help promote these shows. And Supplier Spot is just, like you said, another entity or another tool out there that people could use. So so thanks again for your support of that. And then, okay, so now I want to get into the whole nuts and bolts. And we already had a little bit of conversation before we started recording, because I was confused the very first time we started talking between the Glamping Show and the Glamping Association. So just give us the history there, David. What is this all about? Where did everything start? That's what I'd like to know.
Sure. Well, the Glamping Show Americas, which has had a couple of different name iterations since it started in 2018, is a very small business that Sally and I run, and it happens once a year, as you know, at the Arapahoe County Fairgrounds in Aurora, Colorado.
I'm going to share my screen while you're talking to.
Yeah. The American Glamping Association, if I remember correctly, started in 2019 at our first Arapahoe event, when Ruben Martinez, who was with a different company then, and Sarah Dusick, came up with the idea of let's get everybody together in the glamping sector and work to raise standards and share knowledge and network and stuff. And so they launched the American Glamping Association.
Okay.
So the AGA is a separate entity who is a sponsor of Glamping Show Americas,
Okay.
but is not the owner or doesn't run or isn't involved commercially that way. The one commercial thing we do together is that they produce the content for the 2 half-day workshops that we offer on the day before the show opens. So it's Monday, September 30th this year. The morning workshop is all about money, how to, where you can borrow money, how to find investors, selling your park. Those kinds of things are all about the morning workshop. The afternoon workshop, which is very popular, is called Glamping Business Basics. It's kind of a 50,000-foot view of the glamping portion of the outdoor hospitality industry. So people who are thinking about joining the marketplace, people who may have an RV park or a campground now and are thinking of expanding with glamping. It's a great place to get sort of a bird's eye view of the industry as a whole. And each of those workshops is about 3 or 3.5 hours. So those are organized by the American Glamping Association on behalf of Glamping Show Americas. And they're also a sponsor of our welcome reception. But Resin Exits is a sponsor of the water bottles that we distribute at the conference. So we have several different sponsors, and the AGA is just one of them. And I probably made that way too confusing. But we are separate, 2 separate entities, great relationship, great friendship. Think the world of the AGA, support them all the time, and they support us, but we are 2 separate entities.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. I don't think it was that confusing at all. That made a lot more sense. Like I said, the first time that I was talking to you, I thought you and Ruben were working together, and I thought this whole thing was part of the Glamping Association. Because, and if you think about it, most state associations and even the nationals, like Ohio, they have, like, when they say association, usually the association is the one that's putting on the show. So that's
we do work closely together. Ruben has said a couple of times he's really glad that we're not the same organization because the idea of organizing the event scares him. Yeah. But the idea of putting together the giant education program he's putting together for the AGA scares me. So we're each doing the thing we're most comfortable with, and hopefully we're both serving the industry.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, I see a lot of great speakers on here already. A lot of them I know and then are on Supplier Spot as well. I know Scott Bear. He's not on Supplier Spot right now, but Scott Barr. I've talked to him a few times. Of course, I talked to Ruben, and I see you got Ben Quiggle here. He's a great person. I do a few shows with him, and then Mark Kep. He's a great guy. So this is awesome that you guys are still utilizing the similar people in this industry, because it's always so great to just see the same faces, but it's always nice to get new material as well. So it's cool that they're putting all these shows, all these expos, or these what am I trying to say, workshops on. So.
Yeah, we try. We only have 8 slots for our 2-day conference, and so Sally works very hard to figure out the 8 things that make the most sense to provide sort of actionable business information. Everything we try to do is, this is how I can make more money. This is how I can save money. This is how I can be more efficient. Helps me prepare for whatever's coming down the road. That's what all the conference content is supposed to be. So we have some repeat speakers. Most of them we try to keep new. The topics change every year. She does research. She'll do research at this year's conference from all the delegates, asking what keeps you awake at night. What would you have liked to have heard this year that we didn't cover that you'd like us to cover next year? Getting sort of the industry input of what people want. And then she works really hard at the beginning of next year, putting together the conference. And then it's done by about the middle of April. And we launch it the 1st of May, and registration opens, and the wheel just keeps turning.
Yeah. Yeah, even if the way I look at it too is, even if it's some of the similar speakers, like you said, the topics are usually different. So
always
it's great. Yeah, they're usually always different. I've never seen, like, Mark Kep. I've been to several of his workshops and things, and I've never seen the same text decks, or PowerPoint is what people call them.
Right.
Yeah, I've never seen the same one, and it's great to see him still out here, because he's such a huge advocate for this industry. I'm just using him for an example, but all your speakers that I saw are huge advocates for this industry. And I'm fairly new to this industry, about 2 years in now from this side. Of course, I've been an avid camper my whole life,
Sure.
So, it's great to see the same people, but different topics. So yeah, it's just great seeing all the stuff you guys are putting together. Now, you've mentioned Sally a few times. Now fill us in. Who's Sally again?
Sally is my business and personal partner.
Okay.
Her name is Sally Mattison.
Okay.
Um, Sally has her entire career was in trade publishing, trade magazine publishing, which involved putting on conferences as well. So she's very experienced with content and news and developing education. So she runs the conference side of the business.
Okay.
And I've been doing exhibitions and organizing them for about almost 40 years now. And so I know how to do the nuts and bolts of the booth space stuff.
Yeah.
And so I focus on the expo side of the house, and Sally focuses in on the conference side of the house. And that's our entire company. We have 4 or 5 independent contractors that help us out with different uh, projects and their skill sets. But we're a very tiny company, virtual office out of our home. It's cottage industry.
Yeah. This is awesome. So I don't know if you actually told us, how did the idea of Glamping Show come about? Did you mention
I
that?
wish I could. Yeah, I wish I could tell you I was smart enough. It's a long and boring story. In 2018, I got a phone call from a guy I used to work for
Oh,
20 plus years ago, and not somebody who I maintained the relation. I mean, saw him at industry events, but it wasn't like we were best buds. And he lives in the UK and called me one day and just said, "Hey, how's it going?" And kind of surprised to get the phone call. "You're fine. How are you?" He said, "Listen, I don't know if you remember or not, but my younger brother is also in the business. Has his own small event organizing company." And I did remember, didn't know him, but I remembered. I said, "Sure."
yeah.
So, well, he came to me a couple of years ago with this idea for a new event launch. And he wanted me to read the business plan, give him my thoughts, and he also wanted me to invest. So I read the business plan and I talked to him and I said, "Here's the deal. This is the worst business plan I think I've ever seen in my life. This is a dumb idea. I'm not going to invest in it. And if you have any sense at all, you won't waste your money." He said, "But you know how it is. He's my younger brother. He never listens."
Yeah.
So he went ahead and did it anyway with his partner. Stupid idea. It was called the Glamping Show. In the UK, they launched it in 2015, and by 2018, it like trebled in size.
Nice.
So he said, so anyway, it's doing really great. They've had lots of people come over, including Ruben, by the way,
Yeah.
to the UK to see the show and said, "Why aren't you doing one of these in the States? Much bigger market. You
Mm.
should expand." And they want to expand, but they don't want to do it themselves.
Yeah.
They just don't like the 8-hour time difference. They know how to write and speak English. They don't write or speak American.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in maybe talking with them about doing something? So that's how we found out about the Glamping Show.
Oh, okay.
Met with them. They did a second test event at a hotel. First one was in Denver. They did a second one in Long Beach, California, which I went to. Just thought it would look like such a fun thing to do.
Mhm.
And so Sally and I said, "Sure, well, we'll give it a try." We did the first event together in October of 2019, and that's when we moved to the fairgrounds in Aurora,
Mhm.
and we've been doing it ever since. The only thing changed is last year we acquired their interest in the event, so they own the UK event and we own the US event, and still have a great relationship. There isn't really any. We have a couple of exhibitors, but not much overlap. The things
Yeah.
they talk about don't fit into what we're talking about. A lot of their exhibitors don't do business here. A lot of our exhibitors don't do business there. So there is the Glamping Show is in the UK, and Glamping Show Americas is here. Our territory, if you will,
Yeah.
is north from the Arctic Circle in the north to the Antarctic Circle in the south. So the Americas, north, central, and south, is the market we try to serve. How's that for long and boring?
No, that was great. That's a good story. And I'm glad you mentioned that too, because as I mentioned, I was at the show last year with my previous company and it was so busy. So for those of you who are watching or thinking about the Glamping Show, I know firsthand there were several people that I talked to from Mexico. If I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, Costa Rica, Barbados. I mean, all kinds of people that came over to this show, specifically here in Arapahoe County Fairgrounds in Aurora, Colorado, that were from these other countries where they're wanting to do glamping. They want to find
Yeah.
these, these nice wagons or tents or cabins or whatever, and set them out on their land where people could actually go out there and glamp and have all kinds of fun doing that. So
Yeah,
it's
the
amazing.
geographics for the event are 80% come from the US,
Mhm.
about 5% from Canada, and 15% from Mexico and either further south or east into the Caribbean.
Yeah.
So yeah, people from Belize and the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico and Peru and Colombia and Brazil and several provinces in Canada and only 49 U.S. states. We
Wow.
did something to annoy the folks in New Hampshire, and nobody from New Hampshire came to last year's event. So we almost were 50 for 50.
Oh wow, that'd been great. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And what I love too about what you guys have there, and I know some of the other shows does this as well, but you have the app that you can download that you purchase for the leads, the lead app, where you can actually scan their badge that they're wearing. That
Yep.
was so helpful because there was only two of us at our booth. And of course, we're talking and explaining to some person while somebody else comes into the booth to try to grab some information.
Yep.
Well, I would quickly say, "Hey, do you mind if I just scan your badge so I could, know who stopped by our booth to say hi?" And that would help me generate the lead, so then we could contact them later to say, "Hey, we noticed you stopped by the booth. Sorry, we didn't get a chance to talk to you." So I love how you guys are doing that because it's very busy. So it is a great show. I
Thank
love the
you.
location. Not just because it's Colorado, but the fact that it's only 15 minutes or 20 minutes from DIA. Easy shot down from Denver International Airport. There's several little hotels just within 10, 15 minutes of the place for people to stay. So I think it's a great place. So for everybody out there who
Thanks.
haven't been to Glamping Show, I would highly recommend it. I'll definitely be there again this year.
Me
Uh,
too.
yeah, I hope so. Well, I'm sharing the booth with Roxy with Straight Web Solutions. So shout out to Roxy. I'm so excited to be there with her. And I think it's actually her first year coming to the show, if I remember right.
Roxy and I have been talking about this for 5 years.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward. I don't even care other than I want to just meet her and shake her hands and say, "Oh, you really do exist." So,
Yeah.
uh,
Me and Roxy really connected when I was working for that last company, and she's such a cool person. I told her, and I can say this now because I told her, but she reminds me so much of my stepmom. She's got the same mannerisms, that the same age, or close to the same age, and so we just really hit off. And I get along great with her husband. So at all these conferences, we're always hanging out and talking about stuff. And when I told her the Glamping Show is a really good show, and she's like, "All right, well, okay, if you're gonna go there," I was like, "Yeah, come here. It's in my backyard." So I'm really glad she was able to get in there and get a booth. So.
yeah, one of my favorite things is I meet people on Zoom or
Yeah.
Teams or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
or just on the phone or just email.
Yeah.
So all of our almost all of our new customers are people I've never met face to face before until I see them
Yeah.
in Colorado, and that's one of the fun things about doing this is saying, "God, I didn't think that's what you look like," or
Yep.
"You're taller than I thought,"
Yeah.
or something.
I
The show
never get that.
the show
I
is
never.
fun. It's really really busy for everybody there.
Yeah.
Exhibitors outside start setting up on Saturday
Yeah.
for a show that doesn't open until Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we're pretty busy doing our stuff, and and then people show up, and then we're busy doing that. So
Yeah.
it's
And what I
it's a
love
bit.
the most. Yeah, I say what I love the most about you and your team too is the fact that you're always open to feedback. And that was one of the things after the show last year. You jumped on a call with me, and I said, "Hey, this is my feedback, just 2 cents worth, and whether you took it or not, you're in fact there to just listen and say, yeah, thank you for the feedback." Because I'm the same way that if you get feedback, you're doing nothing but making a better show for the next year, in my opinion.
That's why we do the surveys. Look, life is short,
Yeah,
so tell us what we tell us what we should have done and didn't do. Tell us what we did but did poorly.
yeah,
Um, just tell us how we can make it better, and if we
yeah,
can, we will.
yeah. And I always say to everybody out there too, tell them what they did well. It's very rare that we get that feedback, right? That, oh, I really liked this. It's always seems like everybody goes to the negative when you're talking about reviews or surveys. So I always say, tell them I really like that you did this. So, that's always nice to hear.
I think everybody liked the free tacos. I think that was near the top of the list.
Oh yeah, the little taco bar thing. Yeah, that was great. I love the fact too, and for those of you who don't know, they set up the whole backside of the fairgrounds with everything you can possibly think of when it comes to canvas tents, to wagons, to I remember one I don't know if it was there last year, but the year before they had that it looked like a big rock, like a big boulder, but it had a door and it was actually a room that you go into and had a bed and everything in it. So
The Fred Flintstone house.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
it was great.
geodesic domes and yurts and cabins and tiny homes, and it's just a really interesting collection of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm real excited too. Exclusive Tents, Paul's Way. He's
Mhm.
on Supplier Spot, and I've spoken to him a few times. I'm excited to meet him in person. Every time I don't know if you've ever been on a Zoom with him, but every time I go on a call with him, he's like in the middle of the jungle in Belize.
Yeah,
Like one of
that's
the
where he
tents.
is. It's literally, he's in the middle of the jungle in Belize.
Yeah, it's so cool. He told me he ran a fiber optic cable from the top of the hill where you can get a signal down to his tent, and he
Yep.
lives there. Him and his wife have lived in tents, he said, for like 10 years or something like that. I think it's
Yep.
just so cool to hear stuff like that. So,
Lots of really interesting and fun people to meet.
yeah. Well, great, Dave. That's really awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk with
Sure.
me on Supplier Spot and tell us a little bit more about everything. There's nothing. I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to say or end with.
Just the regular stuff. If you want to find out more about the show, it's glampingshow.us. If you want to come to the trade show part, it's free. No consumers, but free for trade visitors. If you want to come to the conference, there's the 2 pre-show workshops, and then the Tuesday and Wednesday sessions that are done separately. But just give us a shot. Come out and visit us. So glampingshow.us.
Yeah, that's great. Glamping And also, if you're already on Supplier Spot, if you just go to conferences and trade shows, it's right there. It goes directly over to their website as well. So make sure you
And
get there.
I'm sorry, October 1st and 2nd.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
September 30th are workshops.
Yeah,
Right?
September 30th, the workshops, and the show is October 1st and 2nd. So hopefully we'll see folks there.
Yeah, great. All right. Well, thanks again, Dave, for being on here. And everybody, thanks for watching.
My pleasure. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Supplier Spot Spotlight. Keep shining bright in the RV, park, and campground outdoor hospitality industry. Stay tuned for more illuminating conversations with industry experts. Until next time, enjoy the great outdoors.